Titles podcast. I'm excited today to have a discussion with Navy veteran Jack Persin and longtime real estate agent. We're going to hear about his career in the military, and then we're going to hear about his career as an agent and all the way that he's able to give back to the local veterans. So happy to have him. Let's go. Hello everyone, this is Steve Kemp with the People Not Titles podcast, and we're very pleased today to have a special guest. He's a Baird & Warner broker and a veteran, Mr. Jack Persin. Jack, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Yeah,
appreciate
very excited. So Jack, before we get into your military, your real estate career, tell us just a little bit about your military service, how you began, what motivated you to get in the military, that kind of thing.
Well, it's interesting because I didn't know I was going to go to the military. I was attending college. I dropped a Man of Civilization course. It made me a part-time student, and within 10 days I was drafted into the Army. That was during Vietnam, and I was not 100% ready to go to the Army. A friend of mine that was attending Miami University in Southern Ohio was in a similar situation, and we decided to enlist in the Navy. So we enlisted in the Navy. We took a 6-month deferred entry. We were living in Ohio at the time and went out to California and lived a good life for 6 months. And then entered the Navy. And my naval career was, I was stationed in Corpus Christi, Texas, in a squadron. So I earned flight status after about my first 6 months there. I was an air crewman on T-29 airplanes, and I did that for 18 months. Flew somewhere in the area of about 700 hours, and at that time I was then reassigned to Vietnam. And my career in Vietnam was aboard the USS Iwo Jima as a helicopter assault carrier. We had about 1,800 Marines. We would fly them into the jungle at night, midnight to about 3 in the morning. We had a full complement ship, so we had a hospital, we had a hospital as well as a dental, and we housed many Marines.
How long did you do that?
Did it for a term of probably about 120 days. President Nixon at the time decided to do a troop withdrawal. So 4 intense months back and forth, and then they did the troop withdrawal, and we brought back to San Diego about 2,100 Marines. We stayed in dry dock for about 4 months, and at that time I go back a little bit. While I was at Corpus Christi, I met the woman of my life, who now I've been with 51 years, and wow. I wouldn't marry her until I got back from Vietnam. And when I got the news that we were coming back, we were married November, Thanksgiving, 1969.
So you were thinking about her the whole time.
I
just got to get home alive.
It was absolutely. And a couple of things that I wanted to do as my childhood. I went through Catholic schools. I had a hard time understanding Latin, so I never was an altar boy. While I was in Vietnam, I went to Mass every morning, and the priest there declared me his altar boy. So
wow, that's great.
Another thing off my bucket list. We came back, got married November, and then we both moved to San Diego, and spent about 120 days there. And during that time, they made the USS Iwo Jima the ship of the year, and they sent us out to just north of Australia, and we were a ship that recovered Apollo 13. And it was quite an honor. And
were you there when they recovered it?
I was on the ship, yeah. We were there. That capsule was the one they had a lot of problems with, and I saw the movie, and what you didn't see in the movie that they showed, that we saw live, was you hear the sonic boom of that re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and there was three big parachutes. Inside of those 3 parachutes, there were red, white, and blue, and it just chokes me up to think.
Yeah.
So when that opened, it was a pretty happy sight, and they brought the capsule on the ship, and then we sailed back to San Diego.
And did you see them, like the astronauts get out of the
Yeah,
capsule?
we were on board. They went from out of the capsule. They were picked up by a helicopter. They came onto our flight deck. I was on the flight deck, and they moved them into a quarantine booth that they had. It was probably about 16 by 16 for 24 hours. Doctors were in there going over their vitals, and then from there we went back to San Diego, and spent another. I got out of the service in November of 1970. So that's my
That's your military career. So when did you start? 66?
67.
67. So the time in Vietnam, what marked you there, Jack? Just the experience there, even.
Well, the good experience. You certainly learn to be disciplined. You learn to know sounds. We went through a typhoon, which was interesting because as big as the ship was, it still got tossed around quite a bit. You learn to trust your military peers, and you put your life in their hands, and they put their life in your hands. I think that was probably one of the more important things.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 20.
Wow, that's you got to grow up fast, right?
You do, and but the being part of history was interesting. Meeting my wife while I was in the service was very rewarding, and those early months and years on a flight deck or flying was also very rewarding.
So you get out in 70, and I want to talk about how you got into real estate, Jack, but even today, you're involved with the veterans. We have on the back
Yes.
here, Naperville Responds For Veterans. You founded that organization. Tell us just a little bit about that and what it means to you, what inspired you to do it, and just what the impact has been.
Well, prior to coming to Baird & Warner, I was with a local company here, and in that company, I was the managing broker, president of the company. After Hurricane Katrina, which was in 2005, Naperville felt they had to do something down along the Gulf Coast. The mayor, as well as some of the civic leaders, and I was part of that, had a decision to what to do. And we made a decision that we were going to build homes. We built 21 homes in a town about 45 miles east of New Orleans in Mississippi called Pass Christian, Mississippi. That process, we took about 2.5 years to build those out. We were just a fundraising mechanism, and we worked with Mennonites who had built an encampment in Pass Christian, and our real estate office I was with, we made 2 trips down there. We did a trip with about 20 of the agents in 2006, and then we went again down in 2007 with about 14. Our organization, Naperville Responds, which was headed by Naperville's mayor at that time, Cradle, we raised $2.1 million. We funded the construction of these homes. And if you go to Pass Christian today, you can still drive through the community, and they still have a sign out in front of their homes that's built by Naperville Responds.
Wow.
So my wife and I have gone down.
What a proud memory, right?
Yeah, we've been down there 7 times, and it's always fascinating and interesting to go and meet people. And Chipper McDermott is their mayor, just a quality man. He's been up to the Naperville area a couple times to thank us, and so that ended in 2008 officially.
And that was not veteran related.
That
was
veteran
just
related.
Naperville was
That was
you
the
saw a
lead-in.
crisis. Let's respond.
That led us into what we now call Naperville Response for Veterans. I was having dinner with the mayor, and he's an ex-Marine, he's now passed away, and said we wanted to do something. What could we do? And Sharon Burrell, who was with the Illinois Association of Realtors at that time in Springfield, and I went to Mayor Cradle and said, we want to start a foundation to assist veterans with homes, whether it be purchasing homes or working on homes, and we'd like to use the Naperville Responds as our lead to do the fundraising. And he signed off on that, so we became Naperville Responds For Veterans. And that started with a dinner in 2009 at a local restaurant called Rosebud's. In 2010, January 1st, we kicked it off and launched it. Very slow the first 2 to 3 years, and then we picked up speed. I was president the first couple of years, took a break, and now I sit as the immediate past president. We're now a fundraising mechanism that over the 10 years, we've probably helped about 250 veterans with home repairs. We've raised well in excess of $1.5 million. And what we
that
do,
number surprises me. That's amazing.
we work with qualified, licensed contractors. We do roofs, we do windows, we convert showers or bathtubs to showers for that wounded that may have lost a limb. There's not much that we won't do. We'll do mold mitigation. We resurface driveways, whatever that might be. They can go on this site, and up there it says apply for assistance. They apply.
So what's the criteria? Do they have to be local?
They have to be a veteran. They have to be within a 20-mile radius of Naperville.
Oh.
However, we just opened up a second wing to Naperville Responds, what's called Lake County Response for Veterans. And that's run by Tina Abacola, who is, and Norm Gantz, who were part of our organization, lived in Lake County, and then wanted to do more. So we're now in Lake
Now
County.
you're
with that
spawning
same-
off another group.
Correct, so we are growing, and a little bit tough with COVID as far as fundraising,
Yeah.
but we've done very, very well. And the individuals we're working with now, we've got 7 active jobs. We had a board meeting last, we do Zoom board meetings, 3rd Friday of every month, and we just came out of a board meeting, and we've had much success over the summer. We've raised $65,000, I believe, and that money's going right back into homes. We work with Home Depot. They partner with us and give us items at cost, and that's been a godsend having someone like them to be supporting you.
Absolutely. Wow, Jack, that's impressive that you're giving back, and I know the impact. I've heard the stories just from your son Scott and all that about all the people that have been impacted by the efforts.
That's
so
amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk. So obviously you've taken your military career and it's impacted you all the way till now. But how did you then transition into real estate?
I was a sales director in the transportation industry, and I was brought to Chicago from Ohio, and to open up a office in Aurora, Illinois. I did that. That was back in 1981, and with that, I spent 2 years opening that office up, and then was named regional sales director for a 5-state area. And did that through 1983. That transportation company merged with another company, and we had found a little bit of problem with the merger in the.
So did your training in the military impact you in terms of sales?
So, like leadership, absolutely.
Yeah, leadership.
Yeah, it really did, and decision making. You have to make decisions, and you have to make decisions based on knowledge and not on emotion. I very easily can hear someone's story and fall in their lap and want to help them, but that's not always the case, and that's the case with Naperville Responds For Veterans also.
But you can't just, you gotta be level-headed about things.
Yes,
You can't,
absolutely.
yeah, that's great. Because you're performing under pressure.
Correct.
Yeah.
So from the transportation industry, they bounced us from Ohio to Illinois to Ohio, and then we were heading to New York, and my children, God love them, they said, we want to live in Naperville and go to high school here. So we left the transportation industry, came back out here, my wife's family, so I worked for my father-in-law for a year, and got grounded, and then I decided to get involved in real estate, and we came in as a team, my wife and I. She sold real estate for 3 years, and I've been doing it for 30 years now, so it's been.
Who'd you start with?
I started with Merrill Lynch Realty back then.
Okay.
We had, at the time, she interviewed with Merrill Lynch, fell in love with the managing broker. I interviewed with John Green, and at that time, one of my friends now, is Chris Reed, said, we just aren't ready for husband-wife teams back in 1988. So we just made a decision to go to Merrill Lynch. Worked with them for 2 years, was rookie of the year. 1990, I moved over to Remax. Spent 12 years at Remax.
Naperville here?
Naperville.
Yeah.
And then my son joined me in the business, and I had 2 other buyer agents.
At Remax?
At Remax.
Okay.
And they were
Scott,
looking,
your
they
son
were,
Scott.
yeah, son
Okay.
Scott. They were looking for training, and Remax doesn't offer a lot of training. So a company called Ryan Hill Realty offered training, and they were talking about the feeding, and I said, if you 3 want to go, we'll all go together. And so I went over there.
So you, your wife, and Scott?
My wife had already gotten out of
Okay.
this, my Scott, and then 2 other buyer agents.
Okay.
We went over to Ryan Hill, and that was 2004, and 2005 they made me managing broker, 2006 they made me president, and spent another 7 years there. And
So Jack, when they said when you say they made you, is it, were you just being you?
I was just being a manager that they took to, and they saw the growth of the company going in a positive way.
Yeah. So how do you set goals? I mean, how do you think about it that way?
Good question. Goal setting is very important, and I know people tend to set goals on a 5-year period and see where they are every year and measure their results. I set goals for every 36 months, and I hope to accomplish that in 18 months, whatever I set for 36 months, whether it be income, whether it be building accounts.
And why 36 months? You just want to give it some time to percolate?
I want to work hard, and I want to work fast, and then I want to also take time to have time with family. So family's always first, and even in real estate, family comes first.
You have to carve out that time, right? Because
Absolutely.
you can work 100 million hours.
I found that, early on, and going through the 1990s, that I didn't always put family first. I got involved in the Main Street Organization of Realtors. I was on the board of directors in 1993 for a 3-year period, and that took me away from family. And I got geared back to family. I liked coaching the kids when they were playing Little League and soccer, so I worked with the kids in that area. And then in 2005, I got a calling from the board of realtors again, said, would like you to come back in, and I went back onto the board and went through the chairs, became president in 2012, and served 2 years. You go treasurer, first vice president, president, and past president, so it's a 4-year commitment to the executive committee. I went through that, I finished that in 2012, and at that point, I was then totally committed to family. And kids were in college and or out of college, and had grandkids at that point in time, and wanted to carve time that we spend enough time with our grandkids. So every year we do a family getaway. We get a home for 20 people. We never go somewhere like the Carolinas, go to Georgia, go to Florida, but we spend 1 week around 4th of July. 20 people, one house. We do it.
Wow. And everyone comes out and still likes each other.
Everybody comes out together. It really is.
That's
an amazing
awesome.
time.
That's inspiring. So Jack, it sounds to me like you showed up at certain places and you rose to leadership. So in your mind, what makes a good leader?
I can witness my patterns or my management style is not the same as everyone else's management. I look at our managing broker, excuse me, for the Barrett Warner office in Naperville. Bill is a very good leader.
Yeah.
He does it his way. His way is not my way. My way is I'm more hands-on with the people. Bill is very regimented in training, and I probably lack that area of training, but he looks for training. He reminds us of the important things, whether it be Barron Warner Title, Key Mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Those are just as important as selling real estate for Barron Warner.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to look at the supportive group around you.
Yeah.
And I might have missed that as I was, that's, if there was one thing that I would have done different when I managed and ran a company, I would have brought in some type of a lender or a title company, because
Some
it
affiliate
really-
services.
It does make you a whole company at that point in time.
Okay, that's great. And if you had advice for young agents getting started today, what would be the 2 or 3 things that you would make sure that they pay attention to?
Good question, because I just, one of my past clients, she's a teacher, she just passed her real estate license class, and I've had breakfast with her a couple of times, without masks, and excited that she's choosing Barron Warner to come to. And I am totally committed to her and her success. Her husband's a policeman in Oswego, and I know the second income is very important to him. What I would look to them, what I would like them to do, is that first, they take in as much training as they can, whether it be Buffini, Tom Ferry, Mike, you have to pick up and get the foundation. And the foundation is, to me, where I once lacked, is follow up. Build a database and then follow up with that database. That database will reward you time and time again. Too many realtors they have a database, but they don't follow up with the database the way they should. And if you just work off of that database grows. So important to have one.
Training
Training.
and learn yourself, right? Because you can't count on someone to train you. You need to train yourself in many ways. You can get training from other people as well, but you have to have initiative.
It absolutely is true, but the training part of it, and again, that Brian Buffini's about personal notes, follow up, and giving a drive-by, pop-by gift, and I taught that to people and brought it to them and had ideas, but if you don't enforce it, they don't enforce it, and it kind of goes away. This past Christmas, my wife does a family Christmas card. It's the 11 grandkids and her and I, and it's from our family vacation. She printed an extra 20 cards. I sent those to 20 of my former clients. 2 of those former clients came back and said, haven't heard from you in a while, I'm glad you're still in real estate. And one was a list and sell, and one was a sell of a $700,000 home. So, I mean, and I go, why don't I always do this? And that's what I would tell an agent. Do the things that you're supposed to do, but do it consistently all the way through the year. Don't do it in waves, and because people look for you.
So Scott, your son, became an agent, right? And he was a productive agent, and then he became an assistant manager here at the office. You guys kind of came here together, right?
He came about 6 months before I did.
Okay, so did he actually recruit you, Jack?
I don't know if Bill gave her a bonus for that or not, but we met with Bill together.
Okay.
And he would just pull the trigger. I had some things going on at the position I held, and that I couldn't leave when he left. But we had met the managing broker here and for 2 interviews, and he must have had it with me. He decided to move on.
Well, that's great. And so what makes Scott special in the real estate brokerage world?
He's a people person.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I heard him recently. I was at a golf event with him, and he was saying, people know me, and they know me in my office, but they don't know me outside of the office. And he's very fun-loving. He's very committed to family. And he's not only his immediate 3 plus him, but to the extended family, brothers, sisters. He talks to his sister in Georgia, and he is a kind of a wisecracker kind of guy once you get to know him, but he's so serious in the office. I've gone out to the Grange, I've had lunch with him and met with him and met some of the people in the office, but he's a quality individual. His son plays baseball. I go to baseball games with my wife, and we sit and we watch, and two of the coaches came up to me and they go, "You don't understand how quality," I'm thinking they're gonna say my grandson is, he says your son is, he is just one quality man.
Wow.
And
no greater compliment, right? Than you get as a dad and a mom.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
he does the right things.
Yeah.
And he cares.
Congratulations for raising good kids.
Well, we got blessed there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jack, looking into the future, so are you going to plan on just keep doing real estate until?
I don't have a timeline on myself.
Okay.
I'm doing real estate, and you know.
When you do something you really like, you can work at it for a long time, and you don't feel like you have to retire from it, right?
Well, absolutely. So we were talking about this 2 days ago. We were watching an interview on TV, and Dr. Fauci, we all heard.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm 79 now," and he says, "I just do what I do." And so I don't have a time. I said, "Well, if he's 79, I think I can."
You got 20 more years before you get there.
So, you know, I don't have a timeline, and we do always. We have family in Lafayette, Indiana. We have family in Georgia, and then we have Scott and his family in Naperville. And so, as long as we're around family, we're good. And I can be around family. I can do what I'm doing in real estate. I can have success at this. I've been very blessed to have success. I've now ventured into a little bit more commercial real estate, but I still hold residential real estate very important to me.
That's great.
And that's on relationships. That's all relationships.
I see that. So Jack, when you look, so this is kind of a vet, you know, we're doing some veteran specials. So thanks again for your service. And even you're serving the military veterans that need help now. We really appreciate it. And we honor that, really. We really do honor it. So what do you see about military veterans that makes them special or different? Is there anything that when you meet one, you go, okay, there's this common thread between them?
Absolutely. Every veteran I have met, the worst of veterans and the best of veterans, have a quality within them. They do care about fellow man. Interesting enough, my son in Lafayette, Indiana, he's a circuit court judge. He just started a program for veterans that have been incarcerated. And it's a veteran early out program. He had just had his first 2 graduates. My wife and I work with the United States Capitol as far as flying flags over the Capitol, and then they're scripted. Senator Durbin usually signs off a certificate saying this flag flew over the U.S. Capitol on September 11, 2020. So we pay a fee, we get these flags, we donate them to veterans or to organizations as fundraisers. This last one, when my son just sent me a letter over the weekend. I got it on Monday, and it was, we sent a flag down to him, and it was flown over the U.S. Capitol on 9/11/2020. And for his first graduate, they made this special. The governor of Indiana was there. Our son Sean presented this veteran with the flag, and this was probably 3 weeks ago. He got the flag, and he is no longer incarcerated. He's on a program where he meets with the judge every Friday in the afternoon to go over his week's progress. He's got a job now. He's got an apartment, and he wrote Sean, my son, a letter and said, I didn't even know what to do with this flag, but I decided I was going to open up and hang it on a wall in my apartment. And he said, the flag's so big, it goes across one wall and starts down another, because it's the flag that comes in the Capitol.
It's huge.
And so he said, I'm honored. He says, I have tears when I look at it.
Wow.
So the impact of that, and that's my
amazing.
wife did that. My wife does that, and God bless her for it, because the flags are important.
Wow, so I love that the common denominator of veterans is they all care about their fellow man, because I'm not a veteran, but I can care for my fellow man, right? That's one way that I can act like one.
Sure,
is care for my fellow man like you do, so.
We had a dinner last year, and the speaker came from our local school, Naperville Central. My son ran cross country, the older one, Sean, and there was a young man that was probably about 5'5" that was on the team, never finished better than last. but he was there every week. His mom and dad were there every race to root him on. He got out of the military. My sons, they graduated in the early 1990s. And he decided he was gonna go to Northwestern Medical School. He went to Northwestern Medical School. He graduated, became a doctor, and joined the US Army.
Wow.
And he was the doctor that treated Osama bin Laden, Saddam Hussein.
Wow.
And he also spent the most days on the front line than any other doctor since World War II. And he said one thing that was most treasured, anything that people would send their children, the most treasured item we could get would be a roll of toilet paper while they were in Afghanistan and Iraq. He said, I told that to my parents. He said, I had to have cases when they would just send me cases. And he said, I would go to the front line and I would have to bring somebody's spirits up. I give them a roll of toilet paper is like giving them an M&M candy bar. He said, it's just the little things that make a difference to an individual, especially in a combat zone.
Fantastic.
And he's got stories, and he's just an amazing man.
Well, and is he back here now?
He's now in Texas, so he's a practicing doctor in Texas. He also has a license at a hospital in the south suburbs.
Where's he in Texas?
El Paso.
So my daughter's in El Paso at Fort Bliss as a nurse.
Dr.
Yes.
Sadut Bose.
No
So
kidding.
when he had all those
well,
shootings,
yeah.
just look, I'll give you his website. He's an interesting man,
Wow.
very fascinating. Public speaker, can go on and on about him, and very well decorated Army soldier and
Wow.
doctor.
How inspiring.
And we had a cross-country party for all those like 20 years later, and he decided to come and he came to the party, and nobody recognized him to the point when he drove up. He came in some fancy little sport car that was worth $100,000, and just down to earth kind of guy.
That's
He's
great.
an amazing man.
So Jack, wrapping it up here, were there people that built into you over the course of your career? Mentors?
Yeah, absolutely. The first one was Dr. Jack Holder, who, when I got in the transportation industry, I found a niche. I was working in a Cleveland sales team. He knew my wife was from Downers Grove, and when the opportunity came for a position in Illinois, he said, I want you to take this. And I go, my family's all in Ohio. And he said, there's a reason I want you to take this, please take it. And I says, I have got your back. Because I didn't know if I was ready for management.
Okay.
And he not only inspired me, he revisited my life. That was 1970, he was back in my life in 1980s.
So he was intentional about
yes. And he would be one individual that certainly inspired me and put me always on a good course. The other gentleman was a realtor who worked with RE/MAX, and back in those days, this is probably the early 1990s, RE/MAX would have their conventions out in Las Vegas, and the gentleman who's now passed away, his name was John Benares, and he inspired me to get involved with the board of realtors. And we went out to have some cocktails after the convention, and his story was, I love Liberace, I just wanted to go out and see Liberace. So we missed him the first trip. The following year we came back, and we're going, we get out there, it's 5:10, they close the museum at 5 o'clock, so we go back. Next day, we're out there at 11 o'clock in the morning, and they go, well, Liberace passed away last year. We go, okay. So we never got to see him, but we did get through the museum. He was a very inspirational man. He got me involved in leadership. He got me involved with the Realtor Association, and that kind of was a good stay for me, because giving back to realtors is as important as giving back to clients. There's a reward there.
Yeah, and you can't just join these boards so you can get something out of it, right? Because there's a lot of serving, there's a lot of unselfishness that's required to do that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you hardly ever get paid for it in the way that you think you would, but there's so much in experience and relationships and all those things that you come away with it
Absolutely.
that are amazing.
Absolutely. Yeah, so those two individuals were really key for me. And nowadays, I learned from my son in Indiana that just opened this thing up for veterans that have been incarcerated. And I get inspired by that. I get inspired by my son Scott
Yep.
in what he is doing, and then my daughter Indiana, her and her husband, he started. He owned a franchise in Century 21 in Lafayette, Indiana, and then took an opportunity with the real estate book and moved him to Georgia. And as everything started happening in the industry, real estate print was just going away, and he decided to open up a restaurant. And
In Georgia?
in Georgia, so they're working their way through COVID.
Yeah.
And
Where's their restaurant at?
it's in Cumming, Georgia.
Okay.
And
And what kind of restaurant is it?
It's a Chicago sports bar.
No kidding.
She will not throw her roots away. So
That's
everything in there is, their second customer that walked through the door said, I'm an artist, and they had swinging doors from the kitchen back into the bar, and he did a mural on the swinging doors of Corey Crawford, the goalie.
Wow.
And it's the full life size of him on the doors, and
Fantastic.
everything in there is Chicago.
That's
It's
great.
pretty amazing.
Awesome.
And there's a lot of Chicago people down in Georgia.
Oh yeah. So all right, Jack. Well, I just want to say thanks. You know what I see courage. I see leadership. I see servant leadership as well, and just a guy that is still. I see a guy that's young. You know, that's still.
Feel it.
Yeah.
I feel it. I try to do what I can for the family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah, and I see a
always-
family man. I see a real good family man.
I-
That you
I see-
prioritize that.
Life has been. I've been blessed.
Yeah.
I've got some friends that our sphere of friends in Naperville. We met in 1980, so we've been together 40 years. Our friends have been very close to us, and we met all those. We didn't know anybody coming here other than my wife's family in Downers Grove, but we met this group of people because we all had one thing in common. We all had children who were in second grade, and they're all making their first communion that May, and we just from that. It's grown into a love fest of friendships.
That's great.
We vacation with them, and we dine with them, and we do everything we can to be with our friends.
That's great.
And it's good for our kids to see you can build relationships like that.
Yeah, lifelong relationships and
absolutely.
build into each other. Awesome. Jack, thanks a lot for the time.
Appreciate your time,
Yeah.
Steve. You're quite a young man.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
You know, what a story. Thanks to Jack Persin, People Not Titles, signing off. Thank you.